in Saudi.
It's another week, it's another episode of the T&T Talk Sports show. My name is Tunde Young, and at the top of the show, what you heard was an interview between Piers Morgan and Cristiano Ronaldo. Name me a better love story. You felt like we were intruding. You felt like watching that we were the third party in an intimate, loving conversation about how much Piers Morgan loves Cristiano Ronaldo and how much Cristiano Ronaldo loves Cristiano Ronaldo. Welcome to the show. Once again, episode 12, baby. We made it every single Monday for the last 12 weeks. I've brought you a recap of the entire week and giving you my unique thoughts on it. Thank you very much to all of you that are working with us. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Every single one of you, I do not take for granted that I've bought into this project early. I always say it's like buying Bitcoin in 2008. Thank you very much. My name is Tunde Young. Again, let's start with Cristiano Ronaldo's very controversial thoughts. First of all, I would advise you, if you have not seen this interview, on Piers Morgan Uncensored with Cristiano Ronaldo, you probably should go and watch it, because there were lots of snippets flying around, there were lots of quotes flying around, and I know people these days will not take time to actually watch it, form opinion based on those quotes. And I have to say, the quotes do not do a lot of things justice. As wild as the quotes you've seen are, as wild as the snippets you've seen are, trust me, the full interview is much wilder. Like I said, it felt like a romantic session between two lovers, but that doesn't mean that what was said was wrong or inaccurate. This particular clip that we started the show with, Ronaldo talks about the fact that he believes he would still score as much as he's scoring in the Saudi League in the Premier League if he was playing in the Premier League. And of course, it's not gone down well with football fans around the world who herald the Premier League as the peak of club football, as the highest level of league football in Europe. And let's examine what Ronaldo said. Can Ronaldo still function at the high level? Cristiano Ronaldo? Absolutely. At 40 years old, we see what he's doing. Before he says the Saudi League, which is exactly his point anyway, he's done this for at least the last 2 years in the Saudi League, or the last 3 years that he's been there. And then you see what he's doing with Portugal as well. He's clearly slowed down by his own standards. He's not vintage Ronaldo, but he's still Ronaldo in the sense that he's still better than a lot of forwards on the market at the moment. Maybe not the very elite ones, maybe not even the very good ones, but still Ronaldo can put the ball in the back of the net, and ultimately that's the goal of a football game. And that's the point that he's making, that if he was in the Premier League today, I wish to say he would not. The Premier League, where 35-year-old Chris Wood scored 20 goals in the league last season, and he's one of the best players in the league. Who's to say Cristiano Ronaldo, if he played for a top team, like he said, that's the important caveat. Cristiano Ronaldo for Manchester City right now, with the amount of chances they create, who knows, would probably be in double figures already in the Premier League. Same goes for, just put Ronaldo in any team that creates chances basically, and he will score it. His decline in ability can be measured in something like pace. Of course, a 40-year-old Ronaldo will not be as fast as he used to be, or will not even be fast at all, to be honest. He doesn't have as much energy, which means that he can't contribute to a lot of teams in terms of pressing. But give him the ball, put it in the back of the net, and that's the point that he's making. He went on to talk about why he believes the Saudi League should be considered for the golden shoe award or the golden ball award, and I assume he's talking about the top scorer award, which is a European golden shoe award. I don't know why he would not know that, but maybe I'm the one that's mixing things up. What else did he say? That is in his rant. Basically said he's found it easier to score in Saudi. It's found it harder to score in the Saudi League than in the Spanish La Liga. On which I call cap Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, let me not say I call cap, because it's his experience. It's the one that played in La Liga. He's the one that is also playing in the Saudi League right now. So if he says he finds it harder to score in the Saudi League than in La Liga, I choose to believe him. What I don't believe is that it's a reflection of quality. Let me tell you, it might have something to do with the fact that when you played in La Liga, you were at the absolute peak of your powers, Mr. Cristiano. You were probably playing at a level that we've never seen up to 5 footballers in the entire history of the sport play at. So of course it felt easier than now in your 40s, laboring, getting tired much quicker, not being able to do all the things you could do before in terms of mobility. Of course, it feels harder to score now. And I think that's a more plausible reason. I just wish Ronaldo would embrace being older a lot more. I mean, he's fairly accomplished, and nobody can take away what he's achieved in the world. I personally have him as the second greatest footballer of all time, and that is nothing to be. That's nothing to scoff at. Of course, he's done plenty to scoff at it, especially on this Piers interview where he talked about how the World Cup should not be used as a measurement for the greatest player in the world. That point aside, I'm not tackling the goat debate today. I'm talking about the fact that I would like Ronaldo to accept. Accepting doesn't mean that you are not still him, or that you can't put up performances, but accept that you are 40. Accept that you are older. Accept that you can't do what you used to do. It just adds a lot more grace to your image. It gives that sense of maturity, which has been devoid from his brand of late, to be honest. And I say this as a Ronaldo fan, because if the minute you accept that, a lot of these comments or rants start to seem less like crash outs and more like a seasoned professional just giving his thoughts on the game, giving a fair assessment. So accept it. You are old, bro. Like, nobody has a reasonable, and I say reasonable expectation because I don't count Stanship as reasonable. So the only people that expect Ronaldo to still do things that he did 10 years ago are the people on the other side of the Stanship, just because they want to prove a point, they hold to that standard. Anybody that has sense, that is watching football, I don't think expects Cristiano Ronaldo to be Cristiano Ronaldo of Real Madrid or Juventus, or even of Manchester United, even though he maintains that his level has not gone down too much since then. So that's my 2 cents on that. Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, I think he will still score in the Premier League today, but would he be able to contribute to a team because there's no team in the Premier League today that is just willing to have their striker stand and wait there to score. No team. So yes, he will still score because if he gets a chance, he will finish it. But what about the demands of a full Premier League game? Can his body cope? I don't know. I'll be a fool to bet against Cristiano Ronaldo, but I do not know, and I do not think so. But to be fair to him, I also have to say that I understand that it takes a decent amount of Delulu to reach the level that he has. You have to understand that at 40 years old, he's been playing football as a professional, he's playing football for at least 23 years. He has been doubted for pretty much his entire career. And a lot of those times, I'm talking 90% of the time, he has proved the doubters wrong. So to him, even though to the rest of us, it seems obvious, like, bro, you are 40 years old. It's over. Like, it's over, at least at the highest level. Just enjoy the rest of your football. Break whatever records you can and enjoy your career and enjoy your time with your family. To him, it's definitely not over. To him, it feels like this is just another time where people are doubting me and saying that I can't do something that I know that I can do. And since I've proven them wrong in the past, I can prove them wrong again. And like I said, you need a certain amount of that level of confidence to be able to achieve anything in life. To be able to get to where Ronaldo is, you need to be able to shut out the entire world. So yes, I'm sure Ronaldo, even if he's on the 1% chance or less than 1% chance that he sees this, I'm sure he's shutting me off right now and counting me as a hater. I'm not a hater. I just want to be realistic. But again, he didn't get to where he is by being realistic. He got to where he is by believing himself against all odds. So who knows? I just want to know what is the end goal here. Is he what is the end goal here? His place in Portugal is not threatened. I would have said he was trying to mount a challenge to be a regular at the World Cup. It seems like he's going to play at the World Cup anyway, barring any injury. The GOAT debate is already done. I don't think you're convincing anybody that you are the greatest of all time by going on Piers Morgan. I don't think that's where the GOAT debate is settled on the pitch. And I think Messi had an unassailable lead in that World Cup final in 2022. So, what is the plan here, Cristiano? What is the plan here? I will agree with one more thing I said in that clip. Is another thing that people don't consider with the Saudi League is the heat. He did mention it that he has said it as a bit of a challenge that if there's anybody that wants to come and try to run in 45-degree heat and see if they can perform at optimal level. That is true. And I'm on his side on this. The Saudi League is a good league. It's a good league. It's a competitive league. Is it better than the European leagues that are listed? In my opinion, no. It's not better than the French league, even though Ronaldo seems to think so. That it's just the French league only has PSG. No, it doesn't. A lot of the French league teams would easily be down as take it from me as someone that watches Saudi League frequently, mostly for football investment purposes. But I don't think they are better than Syria. Definitely not the Premier League or La Liga. So you would have to say maybe the Dutch league, Belgian league, etc. Just go outside of the top five leagues. It was even much quicker to dismiss the Portuguese league than I thought it would be, to be honest. Is the Saudi Professional Football League better than the Portuguese league? It's debatable. I see the point on both sides, but for me, in terms of like quality, in terms of the level of football being played, for me it's debatable. But I still think the Saudi League is pretty good. The Saudi League doesn't have to be better than the top 5 or top 6 European leagues to be considered pretty good. It is still a good league. If it was in Europe, it would be a top 10 European league. It won't be a top 5 European league. Maybe 6 or 7. So, best of luck to Cristiano Ronaldo. This is not the Cristiano Ronaldo show. If you want to watch the full interview on PS, go ahead and have a blast. Right now, I want to move on to the Super Eagles of Nigeria. As we speak, 8 players are in camp already. 8 players are in camp already as we speak. Well, I'm sure more would have gotten to camp by the time this episode drops. But by Sunday night, confirmed players in camp for the Super Eagles of Nigeria: Calvin Bassey, Alex Iwobi, Samuel Chukwueze, Tolu Arokodare, Olakunle Olusegun, Wilfred Ndidi, Moses Simon, and William Trustekong, with 2 more reported to be arriving later on, Benjamin Fredericks and Chidozie Awaziem. So, and that, consider the fact that lots of these players played on Saturday, some on Sunday, the fact that they are arriving on Sunday night for the game on Thursday, arriving in Morocco, shows the level of seriousness that is being attributed to this fixture, and rightly so, because World Cup hopes absolutely injured on this. There's no 2 ways about it. We do not beat Gabon. We do not get to play that DR Congo or Cameroon, and we don't do that. We don't go to the World Cup, and I think that the stakes are very obvious. Gone are the days where we have to, beg, check for the Super Eagles to turn up to the squad list or to the camp on time. Let me go through the squad list to prosecute this game against Gabon on Thursday. Goalkeepers Stanley Wabali, Amaso Basoge, and Maduka Okoye. Maduka Okoye makes a return to the squad. I mentioned on the last episode that I would love to see Maduka Okoye back. He returned straight into action for Udinese after his 2-month suspension came to an end, and now he returns to the Super Eagles squad at the first time of asking. The defenders are William Trustekong, the captain, Calvin Bassi, Bright Osai Samuel, Bruno Onyemachi, Shemi Ajayi, Chidozie Awazie makes a return, Zaidu Sanusi, and our very own Yus Kunde in Benjamin Fredericks. The midfielders are Alex Iwobi, Frank Onyeka, Wilfred Ndidi, Rafael Onyedika, another addition to the squad after his return from injury, and Alassane Yusuf. The forwards, usual suspects, Ademola Lookman, Moses Simon, Victor Osimhen, Tolu Arokodare. Chidera Ejuke returns to the squad. Ako Adams, the Sevilla connection over there. Olakunle Olusegun, who was a late addition to the last squad, and he impressed. Certainly made an impression on Eric Shaw and his back, and Samuel Chukwueze. So that is the full squad list for Gabon on Thursday, which I have a special announcement to make, by the way. To all of you who call this channel home at the time of recording, all 67 of you who call this channel home, please click the bell icon and turn on all notifications, because on Thursday we'll be having a live watch along for the Super Eagles game against Gabon. So myself, Tunde Young, and a few of my nearest and dearest, probably including those in Abarami, who knows what his schedule looks like. But we are going to have a live watch along, watch the game together with in real-time analysis, real-time reaction, and activities, fun games. Everything is going to be happening. Everything, everywhere, all at once. That's the theme of Thursday. But back to this squad list. Eric Shaw kept it simple. And that's the idea of a man that knows that he doesn't have any margin for error. No margin for error here. There is no time for experiment. On the last episode, I mentioned that someone like Ebenezer Akintomiro was being rumored to have earned his first call-up to the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Eric Shaw deaded that immediately, did not put him in this list. And understandably so. This game is not the game to blood young talent. The young man has had a great time so far in Pisa this season. His start to the season has been fantastic, has to be said. But right now, stick to the usual suspects. The guys that got the job done against Benin Republic have been rewarded for their incredible performance. And what the Shell do, just add some of the guys that are returning to the squad. Maduka Okoye back after suspension. Onyedika back after recovering from injury. Chidera Ejuke back as well. That's Chidozie Awazie back as well. Nothing major, just few tweaks here and there, but all of these guys are all experienced Super Eagles players. So we cannot afford to take risks. We cannot afford to gamble against Gabon. It's not going to be pretty, but we still have to do it regardless. That game is that game the most important game in recent Nigerian football history. At least we've not gone to the World Cup since 2018. So it's the game against Gabon, most important Super Eagles game since 2018. I would probably say the 2022 World Cup decider in Abuja against Ghana was more important, because that was win that and go to the World Cup, and we did not. So the result of that was heartbreaking. It was crushing, in fact. But other than that, what else can I think of? Maybe the game against Benin was even higher stakes, because there was a lot that could have gone wrong. We needed a specific result. 4 clear goals against a team that was top of the group before a ball was kicked. So maybe that game also ranks pretty high in terms of stakes. But we'll see how it goes. I'm very optimistic. That we'll beat Gabon. Let me talk about that game properly now. I think we will beat Gabon. Doesn't mean it's good. Again, I've said it's not going to be easy. Pierre Young has been on a tear. It looks like he wants to drag Gabon to this World Cup, and because he knows this is his last chance to go to a World Cup. This in the latter years of his own career as well. They have a good team. Dennis Bouanga, Mario Lemina. They have a good team. Not a star-studded team. Yeah, few recognizable names here and there, but you will not know most of the players on this squad. But they've been playing together for years. They failed together for so many years. And this is now their time of reaping because they've looked really good over the last 2 years. And every time I see them at major tournaments or in qualifiers, they look good. They look like a unit. That's one thing that the Super Eagles have not had for a while. We've not looked like a unit for a while. We rode on the coattails of Victor Osimhen to even get this far in the first place. If we were good as a unit, we would have picked up points in the games Osimhen missed, which is ultimately how we found ourselves second instead of first in our group. So all of this is not very confidence-inducing, but again, the fact that it's winner takes all, it's in Morocco, so it's a good pitch. The pressure is on. I think that our players are more equipped to handle this pressure than the Gabonese. So at that point, I don't think that their strengths will matter that much. I think one of my favorite quotes is, in high pressure situations, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. I love that quote so much because it is so realistic. It is exactly what happens. People assume that you find a second gear and get to a level you've never gotten to before because the pressure is high, but that's not what happens. Basically, you can't give what you don't have, and Gabon do not have it in them to beat the Super Eagles of Nigeria in search of a World Cup slot. It's not going to happen. That's the only thing that gives me confidence. You might say my confidence is irrational. I agree with you. You might say my confidence is misplaced. Maybe. But I think we'll find a way. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, for the simple reason that we are Nigeria and they are Gabon, we will find a way. That's not disrespectful to Gabon. I've already given them the accolades. They are a very, very good football team. But I think that we'll just have too much for them. The same way we had too much for Benin Republic, who were a good football team as well. Not star-studded, similar to Gabon. They just were reliant on good coaching and a good team structure. What happened when we faced them, when we needed to absolutely beat them by 4 goals to nil? We beat them by 4 goals to nil. So I'm telling you that on Thursday, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will, I don't want to say make light work because it's not going to be easy, but we'll edge past Gabon. What is particularly scary now for me, that I cannot beat my chest that will happen, is Congo or Cameroon in the final. And that's why that other semi-final is very important. I'm more confident playing Cameroon than I am Congo. In fact, like I said, I would much rather play Cameroon because the enemy you know, or the devil you know, is better than the angel you don't know. We've played Cameroon too many times for me to be afraid of them. Gone are days of being scared of Cameroon. Like, this Cameroon team is not, they have good players again, but they don't invoke fear. And the fact that we have history will make it, you know what to expect. Congo, on the other hand, can be a very good team on their day, and we've seen them on the other side as well. But what we do know is that they have lots of good players. They have a strong physical style of play, and we do not have lots of history against them, at least not in the recent years. So they are sort of like an unknown quantity, and I don't want that in a final. So if it's Congo that makes it through, which I think they will, that I'm not all the way confident about the final, but when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. Let's focus on Gabon first. What do you think the scoreline will be? What are your predictions? I think that we'll beat Gabon by 2-1. I think we'll beat Gabon 2-1. And we'll reconvene and see what happens ahead of the next game, if we do have a next game. But I pray to God, I beg God that we have a next game. So, Super Eagles of Nigeria, best of luck to you guys. Best of luck to Eric Shaw. It will be a fantastic achievement for the Malian who took charge of this Super Eagles team when all hope seemed to have been lost, but he's proved his mettle as a coach. Speaking of coaches in charge of Nigerian players, earlier in the week, last midweek, the Champions League day, so it was on Wednesday, I believe. Atalanta were playing in the Champions League against Olympique Marseille, and Ademola Lookman was substituted off. And as he went off, a pitch-side scuffle or squabble ensued with his coach, Ivan Juric. And I've given my thoughts on this already on my social media platforms. Maybe in hindsight, it looked worse at the time than it actually is. It's just, again, like I said in my video earlier, I have not seen this before, where a coach resorts to physically pushing a player to reprimand or get his attention, whatever it was. I don't know what was said. Like I said, I don't know what was said. It appeared that Lookman said something to him first. I don't know what was said, but my stance has always been, it doesn't matter what Lookman said in that moment. Juric has absolutely no right to shove him like that twice on camera in the middle of a game. There's nothing a player can say that should get a coach that's irate to the point of reacting like that in the middle of a game. There's a reason you are a football coach. So that was always my stance. And the fact that Lookman started the next game for Ladea shows that maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe Yuri is just a hot head in terms of expressing himself. Maybe it wasn't a serious personal issue. If Ademola Lookman cares to eventually comment about this, we'll find out if there's anything more to it than it seemed. But I just thought to bring that up. That was one of the things that happened over the week that did not quite sit well with me. Registered in my memory. Earlier in the week as well, we saw the FIFPRO World 11. The controversial FIFPRO World 11, where Rafinha was left out, and that's all you need to know. Rafinha did not make the FIFPRO World 11. He went on the internet to crash out. Went on the internet to really, share some of his own stats and basically asking, really, this is not enough to make the World 11. And I don't need to go over this in detail because by now I expect that we all know what the full list is. For the men, Gianluigi Donnarumma and goal very much deserve. Van Dijk, Hakimi, and Nuno Mendes are the defenders. Midfielders are Jude Bellingham, Cole Palmer, Pedri, and Vitinha, while Ousmane Dembele, Kylian Mbappe, and Lamine Yamal are the forwards. Of course, the elephants on the list are Cole Palmer and Jude Bellingham in midfield. Lots of people argue that, why are they on this list? And rightfully so, because Cole Palmer had a lackluster season for most of last campaign, up until the Club World Cup, where he found some rejuvenation and was able to rescue his season. And even that was 2-3 games in the entire 7-game tournament at best. So that's not World 11 material. Jude Bellingham, I don't even know why he's here. But again, these days are voted for by players, and the voting system lists players in specific positions. For example, Rafinha couldn't have made it ahead of Cole Palmer or Jude Bellingham because they were listed as midfielders and he is listed as a forward. So you'd have to vote Rafinha ahead of other forwards with Lamine Yamal and Mbappe and Dembele. Dembele obviously has earned the spot. I think Rafinha should have made it ahead of Lamine Yamal regardless. And a lot of people, one of my close friends included, thinks that Rafinha should have made it ahead of Mbappe. I disagree with that. I think Rafinha for Lamine should have been the obvious adjustment there. But again, these things are voted for by players. And my take is that nobody should be taking the FIFPRO awards seriously enough to crash out over it. I understand from Rafinha's perspective, it's a case of you want the acknowledgement of your peers. You want to be regarded as one of the best in the world, especially in your position, by your peers. I understand it might mean a lot coming from people that play the game. But these people also have a history of not watching the game, have a history of voting amiss. So I don't think it should hurts this much. Yeah, it's I understand why it will be painful from his perspective, because you feel like you've given your all, you had a career season, and it's now you finished 15 Ballon d'Or and now not even making the FIFPRO World 11. But I don't see it that way. I do not. Anyway, from the FIFPRO World 11 to the FIFA The Best nominations, which also happened over the week. Ousmane Dembele, Achraf Hakimi, Harry Kane, Kylian Mbappe, Nuno Mendes, Cole Palmer, Pedri, Rafinha, Mo Salah, Vitinha, and Lamine Yamal have all been nominated for the best FIFA men's player for 2025. All 11 of them. Who takes it is most likely going to be Ousmane Dembele. Or they want to, for the sake of variety, can give it to Lamine Yamal this time. I assure you, I do not care. I've stopped caring about football awards for a long, long time. But it's my job to cover it still. The goalkeeper nominees. Do I need to read these nominees for you to know that somehow, some way, Emiliano Martinez is here? That's all you need to know. He always finds his way into this nominations list for the 2022 World Cup. The single greatest investment in the history of investments. I can't think of anything that has a higher ROI than the 2022 World Cup. Anyway, the goalkeepers, best goalkeepers in the world right now, the nominations as put out by FIFA, 22 of them, as Alisson, Donnarumma, Meret, Robert Sanchez, Yacine Bonu, Fabio Mier, Unai Simon, Diogo Costa, John Manuel Neuer, Jan Sommer, Thibaut Courtois, Emiliano Martinez, Jan Oblak, Miles Villa, Wojciech Szczesny, David Raya, Edouard Mendy, Di Gregorio, Weverton, and Rowan Williams. Congratulations to Rowan Williams, who is getting a lot of global recognition lately. The Mamelodi Sundowns and South Africa goalkeeper. And for the defenders, Pau Kubasi, Marco Correa, Alfonso Davies, Di Lorenzo, Ruben Diaz, Konate, Oisin, Hakimi, Guerrero, Dumfries, Koulibaly, Koundé, Magalhaes, that's Gabriel, Marquinhos, Nuno Mendes, Thiago Silva, I don't know about that, William Saliba, Rudiger, William Pacho, Nicolas Otamendi in 2025, bro. Upamecano and Virgil van Dijk are the nominees for FIFA the best defenders of the year. The midfield nominees are Arias, who had a great Club World Cup for Fluminense and then signed for Wolverhampton Wanderers in England off the back of that Club World Cup. Hasn't really hit the ground running, John Arias, but he did enough at the Club World Cup to be nominated as one of the best midfielders in the world, along with Jude Bellingham, Moises Caicedo, Frankie de Jong, Bruno Fernandes, Scott McTominay, Alexis McAllister, Joshua Kimmich, Gravenberch, Enzo Fernandez, Jamal Musiala, João Neves, Ruben Neves, Michael Olise, Cole Palmer, Fede Valverde, Bernardo Silva, Fabian Ruiz, Declan Rice, Pedri, Florian Wirtz, and Vitinha. So those are the midfield nominees. And for the forwards, Salem Al-Dassri of Al Hilal and Saudi Arabia, Bradley Barcola, Ousmane Dembele, Desiree Doué, Serhou Guirassy, Harry Kane, Alexander Isak, Enrique, Erling Haaland, Victor Gyökeres, Kivicha Kvaratskhelia, Robert Lewandowski, Lautaro Martinez, Kylian Mbappe, Lionel Messi, Mohamed Salah, Cristiano Ronaldo, Matteo Retegui, Rafinha, Pedro, that's João Pedro, Vinicius Junior, and Lamine Yamal are the nominees for FIFA the best on the men's side. So congratulations to everybody that was nominated. Again, for these awards, the acknowledgement should be enough. The acknowledgement should be enough. You, as one of the best players in the world, it's fine. But however you're placing, whether it's fair or unfair, this, in my opinion, should not matter in the grand scheme of things. Let's talk about Ademola Lookman, which also happened earlier in the week. Something that caught my eye. And I made a video about it. So in Champions League game between Atalanta and Marseille, Lookman was substituted, and a pitch-side scuffle ensued between him and his coach, Ivan Juric, In fact, saw Juric shove Lookman twice in the middle of a game. And again, we don't have details. I don't know what happened. I don't know what Lookman said. I don't know whether it's because Lookman ignored him. I don't know what transpired. But my stance on that was very clear. Nothing could have transpired I beg your pardon, to justify a coach shoving his own player publicly during a game. There's no matter how rude the player is, no matter what the player could have done, you undo that privately. You do that in the dressing room for all you care. As much of a reputation as Sir Alex has for being tough as nails on his players, we hear all about the hairdryer treatment. As bad as Jose Mourinho's reputation is for being ruthless with his players, we never saw him physically push anybody or do any of this. This was the first time that I remember seeing this in my time watching football, and that's why I felt so bad about it and had to make that video, which kind of went semi-viral on TikTok. So thank you for the support and thank you for checking it out. But still, it has to be said, like there's no reason for that to have happened. Maybe it's not that big of a deal anyway, because Juric started Lookman the very next game against Sassuolo. They ended up losing. They lost 3-0, but he started him, which maybe to an extent proves that there's no hard feelings. Maybe it was just a hit of the moment thing, and it has passed. Who knows? But that should not be happening. Maybe someday Lookman will tell the side of the story, or one of them should come out and eventually say what happened and just let it all blow over. But moving away from that to my highlights of the sporting weekend, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll. I would like to say that I told you so. And what did I tell you? I told you that Alejandro Garnacho at 35 to 40 million is at worst a decent investment. At best, is still a bargain. It's too early to call him a steal or a bargain yet, but let me tell you that Chelsea had nothing to lose to have signed a player like Garnacho for that amount at 21. Only just turned 21 in July. At 21, he's already played 200 plus career games for club and country. This is a top level talent that we are talking about here. And for most of his life, the Garnacho that you have judged for most of his life, 51 goals and 34 assists in his career so far. The Garnacho that you have judged for most of his life was a teenager. That should, if you understand how player progression works, that doesn't mean that every talented player is going to morph or grow into a world beater. But if you understand how player progression works, how talent progression works in football, you have a great level of talent, then you have an enabling environment where your talents can be nurtured, mostly devoid of pressure. That's why lots of these players go out on loan to lower clubs, or maybe even leave permanently, go and establish yourself at a lower club where you can make your mistakes without the scrutiny of playing for Manchester United, without being scapegoated every week, without being hounded out of the club like they did him. And it reflected in his performances last season. These players are human beings. You cannot constantly attack somebody like that or scapegoat him like that or talk about him consistently like that and expect him to perform at optimal level. Some players can, most players can't. That's just the simple truth. So what he has at Chelsea now is an enabling environment. The talent has always been there. Garnacho has always been uber talented. What he has at Chelsea is an enabling environment in the sense that there's a lot less pressure. Even though Chelsea is also a big club, not nearly the same amount of scrutiny as playing for Manchester United. At Chelsea, he's not the great academy hope that he was at Manchester United. So that was also part of the disappointment of his time at Manchester United, was that, he came through their ranks, even though they signed him from Atletico Madrid, really. But it's still Carrington to an extent. And they brought him through and they had expectations for him as a Manchester United academy graduate. At Chelsea, none of that. He's another young signing at Chelsea. And in fact, 35-40 million signing at Chelsea is devoid of pressure. We signed Gittins for 60 million. We signed Pedro Neto for similar amount. Like, this is not... 40 million at Chelsea nowadays is not money, so there's no pressure on him, or at the very least as much as it would have been at Manchester United. It's an enabling environment in the sense that it's surrounded by like-minded young individuals. So you can see the freedom with which he plays. You can see there's no, everybody is just doing it. Like Chelsea doesn't necessarily, like, I don't want to say there's no structure, but there's no hierarchy per se. Whereas at Manchester United the hierarchy was clear. Bruno Fernandes, top dog, done that at number one. Then you come down the list and down the list. Like you go far before you get to Garnacho. At Chelsea, there's really only one definite hierarchy. It says that it's Cole Palmer. After Cole Palmer, everybody else slug it out. So I'm talking for the attackers, obviously for the midfielders, you know, Caicedo and Enzo untouchable. But like, so that's sort of creates an environment where Garnacho can really be himself. And by being himself, I mean a very talented young player. Again, the Garnacho that you've criticized for years was a teenager. How many teenagers in world football have ever been good enough to play for Manchester United? In history of football, let's talk about it. How many teenagers in world football have ever been good enough to be a part of the Argentine national team, even though it was not a regular, he hardly played, but at least it's the setup. How many teenagers in world football could do what Garnacho did at the top level for that level of consistency? And I know when I talk about Garnacho now, Manchester United fans will look at him with tainted lenses because last season and the performance was not great, and I've already given reasons for that. The environment was not enabling for his talent, so that's just all that was. I'm glad that it's starting to show that he can manifest that talent, but that's my argument with Garnacho as well. Even if he doesn't, what did it really cost you? At worst, Garnacho will be a decent to good player in the Premier League. At the very worst, like his floor level is, I'm trying to think of a reasonable player comp. His floor level is Martinelli. Not special. As his moments, can contribute consistently to a good team at a high level. But it's not one of the best players in his position. He's just a good contributor. Will do his part and keep it moving. At worst, that's Garnacho. At best, Garnacho could potentially be Vinicius, and the trajectory of their career suggests so. Remember, Vinicius as well struggled heavily when he came to La Liga, and it looked like it was not going to pan out. And after a while, he came into his own. Maybe Garnacho needs a bit more time to come into his own, whether he gets to that Vinicius level or not. Or maybe we even find a happy medium between Martinelli and Vinicius. But I don't see Garnacho being worse than a Martinelli level. And if you think a Martinelli level is not good enough for 35 to 40 million, then you are an unserious person and you should probably find another spot. That's all I'm telling you now. That's all. So I was right. Or at least looking like I was right, but let me not celebrate prematurely. That's my Antonio and Alejandro Garnacho rant. I just wanted to clarify that this is a player that even at Manchester United, before he joined Chelsea, before there was any chance of him even joining Chelsea, I'd always maintained that this guy has been unfairly judged. You cannot continue to compare everybody or view everybody through the lens of Lamine Yamal. How many Lamine Yamals are there? How many Lamine Yamals are there in the world? For every Lamine Yamal, there are 1,000 Ravel Morrisons. If you don't know what Ravel Morrison is, my point exactly. Ravel Morrison, one of the most talented young players I've ever seen with my bare eyes. When Manchester United grumpy class of 90, whatever, talk about Ravel Morrison's talent, you can see that they clearly had a lot of reverence for him. A lot of them have said he was better than Pogba at youth level. They were at the same youth. Talent like that but never really materialized to anything. Could not even become a decent player at a decent level for a top club. Was bouncing around, yo-yoing around from club to club. That's not what Garnacho is, in my opinion. I think Garnacho can actually contribute. So, for every Lamine Yamal, for every explosive talent that was able to figure it out at a young age, there are 1,000 more explosive talents that never get to figure it out, never even get the chance. So you cannot judge everybody by you cannot ask everybody to be Lamine Yamal. Sometimes you need to objectively look at the player and use your brain, think and deduce what's the best case scenario with this player, like without agenda. I know it's hard these days to come to conclusions of any kind without being, agenda based, but it is what it is at the end of the day. Anyway, congratulations to Alejandro Garnacho, who had a great game for Chelsea. Chelsea beat Wolves by 3-0 on Saturday and move up to third in the Premier League. Very, very happy about that. Very happy about that. Chelsea third in the Premier League. But there were a few coupon busters over the weekend. In fact, everybody that played football this weekend was a coupon buster. Every single game had the potential to kill you. Galatasaray lost to Kocaelispor. Now, that's last week's episode. We talked about the Turkish referees and their gambling issues, blah 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 blah. Do you see the connection? Make of that what you will. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. But for Galatasaray to lose 1-0 a week later, there was literally nothing that you could have taken in that game. There was no market you could have taken in that game that would come through. Galatasaray to win, Galatasaray 1-up, Galatasaray 2-up, Galatasaray win or draw on the 4.5, Galatasaray score 1 goal, Galatasaray score 2 goals. Anything. Galatasaray win it half. Nothing was done. It was a horrible weekend. It was a horrible weekend to invest your money in football. But Basel as well. Basel lost at home to Lugano. Feyenoord lost away to Go Ahead Eagles. Real Madrid goalless at home to Rayo Vallecano. Not looking good. Not looking good whatsoever. Man, I'm having PTSD just even talking about this now. In the Premier League, Crystal Palace Brighton ended goalless. In Bundesliga, Bayern Munich 2-2 away at Union Berlin. Bayern Munich, who were on a run of 16 consecutive wins. 16 consecutive wins, and that run ended against Union Berlin of all teams. Just after beating PSG in the midweek, by the way. I thought PSG were going to end the run because it was a game at Parc des Princes in the Champions League. But they beat PSG away from home with 10 men, only to now go and lose, to go and drop points or draw 2-2 against Union Berlin. A few upsets in Serie A. Sassuolo 3-0 winners away from home against Atalanta, as I mentioned earlier as well. On Saturday, there were a lot more upsets. Let me try and look for some. Sunderland 2-2 against Arsenal might count as an upset to a lot of people. I think it does. Arsenal were in a run of 9 consecutive wins. Even though I personally knew they were not going to win, but still, I understand why some people would have thought they would. Monaco lost 4-1 at home to Lens. In Serie A, 3 of the 4 games on Saturday ended goalless. Como Cagliari goalless, Lecce Verona goalless, Juventus Torino goalless. Parma AC Milan played 2-2. So all 4 games were straight draws. I just hope we don't get the Italian version of the Turkish story last weekend. I think those are all the upsets that I count. Let me know if I miss any. Let me know in the comments. I mentioned Arsenal earlier. Something interesting happened in that game. It ended 2-2, so it was an interesting game overall. Sunderland deployed a tactic that nobody else has tried against Arsenal so far. And maybe they've opened a new manual on how to beat Arsenal. Because Sunderland reportedly moved the advertising audience, the advertising boards in the stadium, the pitch side advertising audience. They moved it much closer to the touchline. The theory is that they did it to limit long throws, to remove long throws from Arsenal's arsenal of weapons, pun intended. But because to take long throws, you need to step back and generate momentum and run and then swing it into the box. at the top of your strength. But what they did with that is now they now cut off the running room by putting the advertising boards close, just directly behind the touchline. And if you want to give credit to that and say whether he didn't do it on purpose, just watch the coach in his post-match interview. Regis Lebris was asked about this after the game, and this is what he had to say.
Speaking of home comforts, the advertising hoardings seem to be a little closer to the pitch today than usual.
Are you sure?
Seem to be, yeah. Fair bit. Do you know anything about that?
Must have been the wind. Probably.
So you could see Regis Lebris, even though he was very tongue-in-cheek with his reaction, so they clearly did this on purpose. Limited Arsenal to remove the long throw from the Arsenal, limited them to just 2 corners the entire game as well. So they were very conscious about depriving Arsenal of the set-piece threats, and Arsenal still scored 2 goals and almost won that game. So that should tell you how good Arsenal are. But again, is this how to play Arsenal? For teams that have not played Arsenal yet, Chelsea, take notes. This might be the way to getting points against this very, very good Gunners team. So congratulations to Sunderland. Sunderland currently 4th in the Premier League at the moment, behind Chelsea, Manchester City, and Arsenal. So, great start to the season for the newly promoted guys. Regis Lebris is doing a fantastic job after promoting the team, keeping the core of the squad from the Championship, and they've really hit the ground running in Premier League football. Halfway there in terms of the amount of points needed to escape relegation, 40 points. They already have 19. So, I was to say they are not going to even surpassed expectations by not only avoiding relegation but maybe pushing for an European place. Who knows? Too early in the season, but we will find out. Speaking of finding out, let's find out how our favorite Nigerian players did over the weekend. I like to use Eagles Tracker for these updates because, again, like I said, I love the job that they do in covering Nigerian players around the world, and I don't have an official partnership with them. I'm just really appreciative of the work that IoT and his team have been able to do. Over the weekend, according to Eagles Tracker, Emeka Eze scored 1 goal and had another assist for Columbus FK in their home Turkish 1 league victory over Igde. 3-1 it ended. 1 goal and 1 assist for Emeka Eze. Salim Fago Lawal scored a brace to lead NK Istra to an important league victory over Dinamo Zagreb. They beat Dinamo Zagreb by 2-1. Another coupon buster, has to be said. And it was a Nigerian that did it. He scored both goals for NK Istra. Salim Fago Lawal, remember the name. Tawa when he came off the bench for Nottingham Forest as they beat Leeds United by 3-1. He played 31 minutes. Didn't score assists, but good half an hour of football under his belt. Chiamaka Nnadozie was in goal for Brighton as they snatched the late draw against Liverpool. 1-1 it ended. Rofia Timura put in a good defensive shift for London City Lioness in their own victory over Tottenham. It ended 4-2 for London City Lionesses. Lookman started and played 78 minutes for Atalanta as they lost 3-0 at home to Sassuolo. Akko Adams and Chidera Ejuke both played for Sevilla in the victory over Osasuna, 1-0. Akko Adams played the full 90 minutes. Chidera Ejuke featured off the bench for 13 minutes. Speaking of Nigerians, Calvin Bassey, Alex Iwobi and Samuel Chukwueze all featured for Fulham as they lost by 2-0 away at Everton at the E.O. Dickinson Stadium in the Premier League on Saturday. Ashley Prompter put in a good defensive effort as Etihad Ladies picked up a top away league victory 3-2 away at Al Qadsiya. Francisca Odega played 16 minutes. Jordan Torunariga put in a good defensive effort to help Hamburger earn a home league draw versus Borussia Dortmund. 1-1 it ended in that one. Paul Onacho scored his 8th goal of the season as Trabzonspor are held to a home league draw by Uchenna Ogundu and Alanyaspor. So those are the updates. Fred Onyedinma scored a brace for Wycombe Wanderers in a home league victory over Leyton Orient. 4-1 ended. Fred Onyedinma scored 2 goals in that one. And moving on to more updates, this time from the NPFL, where there was a lot of controversy over the weekend. But let's start with the results. Rangers International 1-0 winners against Shooting Stars. Wiki Tourists 1-0 winners against Niger Tornadoes. Abia Royals and Enyimba, the derby ended goalless. Kano Pillars and Bayelsa United also ended goalless. Ikorodu City, Ikorodu Lagawa went away to Warri Wolves, 2-0 winners away from home. And Nasarawa United and Kwara United ended 1-1. And the game on everybody's lips over the weekend, Katsina United and Barao United, which ended 1-1. But nobody was talking about the football in that game between Katsina United and Barao. It was more of the post-game shenanigans, the violence that ensued when Katsina United fans attacked a Barao FC player after they scored an equalizer against Katsina United. And it's disheartening, absolutely disheartening that stuff like this is still happening in Nigerian football. Violence, there's no place for violence in this game. Let me not even give you the official statement. It's just why are we why are we attacking players for scoring against our team, bro? Like, I don't condone violence of any kind, but even if you want to, don't do it. First of all, don't do it. But if you were to, isn't it more logical to face your own team and ask them serious questions about why they are not picking up results, rather than attacking the opposition for daring to score against you? It's their job to score. They came to your home to try and pick up points, and they did just that, scoring an equalizer. Why should they get attacked for that? For once, I'd like to give the league body credit on this. The verdict on Katsina United was swift and decisive. A statement was put out immediately, and it says Katsina United hit with sanctions. Statement from the league organizer. Katsina United have been charged for breaching the framework and rules of the NPFL 2026 in the course of their match day 12 fixture versus Barao on Saturday. The club failed to provide adequate and effective security, resulting in unauthorized persons gaining access to restricted areas. Katsina United also failed to ensure proper conduct of their supporters, leading to the harassment of Barao FC players and match officials. Supporters of Katsina United also threw harmful objects onto the pitch, resulting in injuries of Barao FC players. Furthermore, Katsina United supporters displayed conduct capable of bringing the game into disrepute. Katsina United will play all their subsequent home matches at the stadium in Jos and behind closed doors. That's punishment number 1. Punishment number 2 says the club have been fined 1 million naira each for throwing objects towards the pitch, failing to ensure proper conduct of their supporters, and bringing the game into disrepute, totaling 3 million naira. A 2 million naira fine has also been placed on Katsina United for failing to provide adequate and effective security. That's 5 million naira. The club will further pay 2 million naira each as compensation for treatment of injuries and damages to the away team's buses for holding the match officials and away team hostage after the game, totaling 4 million naira and a grand total of 9 million naira. Katsina United have 48 hours within the date of the notice to appeal the sanctions. So we don't know if they ended up appealing, but from what we know, Katsina United have now been banished from Katsina to Jos for the rest of the season. They will not play any of their home games in front of a crowd, and they will now pay 9 million naira in fines for their actions. I don't know if that punishment is sufficient, but it is swift, and I give them credit for it. I don't know why something like this would still be happening in our league, and this is not the first occurrence this season at all. This season we've seen multiple occurrences already, which begs the question: are we supposed to be going forward or backwards? And that's why United top of the table at this moment in time after 12 games played with 23 points. Abia Warriors are second with 22 points. Ikorodu City, they started at the start of the season, but they seem to have found their footing. Third with 21 points. Warri Wolves are fourth on the table with 18 points. Niger Tornadoes fifth. Enyimba 6th. Kwara United 7th. Rivers United 8th. Katsina United 9, all with 17 points. You have Rangers shooting and wicketers from 10 to 12 with 16 points. El Academy and Bayelsa United are 13 and 14 respectively with 15 points. Kun Khalifa, Plateau United are 15 and 16 with 12 points. The champions, Remo Stars, occupy the first relegation slots with 17th on the log with 10 points from 9 games so far, and they were also the biggest story in the NPFL, at least before the matches happened, when reports circulated around social media that NPFL winning coach and current head coach of the Remo Stars, Daniel Ogumodede, had resigned or had been fired from the club. The club will put out a statement shortly after to say that was not true. Daniel was just away on a self-developmental expedition to get his coaching badges and all of that. And sources confirmed to me that the club statement about the story being bullshit itself is in fact bullshit, because sources claim strongly that Daniel Ogumodede is in fact leaving Remo Stars. I don't know who to believe, but right now we wait for the truth to come out. What we know officially is that Ogumodede remains head coach of Remo Stars, and until anything changes officially. Barra FC are 18th on the table, Bender Insurance 19th, and Canabilas bottom of the table with just 6 points from 11 games so far. 3 goals scored, 12 goals considered. A horrible start to the season. So that brings us to the end of another episode of the T&T Talk Sports Show, episode 12, as started and ended. My name is Tunde Young. Thank you very much for rocking with me. And you now have the chance, once in a lifetime opportunity, to spend even more time with me. All 67 of you at my last count that called the T&T Talk Sports Show channel on YouTube home, you have the chance to watch the game along with me and my compadres on Thursday, 4 p.m. Nigerian time. The Super Eagles of Nigeria against Gabon. I will be watching the game and giving my thoughts and performing other activities live. You do not want to miss that. So see you on Thursday. Tell a friend to tell somebody about somebody that we are doing a watch along on this very channel. And if you miss out on that, we'll see you in the next episode next week Monday, God willing. Please have a good week and good luck to the Super Eagles of Nigeria.